been kind of watching this update for ages and going, when are they going to release it? When is it going to come? So if you're like me and you've been doing loads of these online sessions, it's great to see inside everybody else's house. So Bruce, I'm extremely disappointed that you've blurred your background. But I'm loving Nicola's house, so yeah, it's good, isn't it, to kind of get a good view at people. So if you haven't, so there's not too many people that don't know me on the call, but Sarah said I'm Alison Henderson, so I'm Chief Executive at the Chamber here, and we've been in lockdown for what feels like about 8 years, never mind 8 weeks, so it's great to really catch up with everybody and see what you've all been doing. What has the Chamber been doing? Well, I think just as everybody else is, trying to pay attention to what's coming out of government, what we're hearing about recovery, trying to make sure we're at the forefront of any changes to any of the business support that's been announced by government, and just trying to signpost as much of that support as possible, because believe it or not, there are businesses that haven't applied for the grants that you can access from the local authority, and there are people that are self-employed that haven't yet got access to the self-employed schemes by HMRC, or are still thinking about whether they qualify for the self-employed hardship funds from local authorities, and whether, how does that impact the rest of their income and everything else that's going on. And we've been doing a lot of talking to businesses. So we've just come out of phase 4 of the Chamber coronavirus tracker. So we're looking forward to actually seeing the data of that, because we've been doing this tracker now. So the first 3 trackers were very much about what were people feeling and how was the crisis affecting them. And then phase 4 is much more about recovery. And that's really what we're going to try and have a conversation about today. What are you finding? What does your business feel like at the moment? But actually, what do you need for restart and recovery and reopen? And what are you thinking about all of that? And how can you help other members? But actually, how can we help you get some of the national support you might need as well? So it's all these conversations we're having at the moment. And Sarah's been working really hard on our webinar programme. So we do 4 webinars a week, and this is the first one. So coffee and a virtual cake. I don't know how many of you have actually got cake, but today is our members only kind of networking session, and then in the evening is our guide to on a Tuesday night. So it's all about doing online business this evening. And then Wednesdays are about supporting people. And during Mental Health Awareness Week, we are looking at green spaces and how that impacts mental health and well-being. And that'll be a really interesting conversation, because I know how lucky I am to have a really nice outdoor space that I can escape to. And actually, I've done some webinars out when we had the really nice spell a couple of weeks ago. I did some of my webinars out there when I was pretending that I could really see what was going on the screen. But, there are lots and lots of people in our local area that have got no private outdoor space whatsoever. And so, lots of people are going out and taking exercise, and Dundee and Angus in our area is such a beautiful space. But lots of people are not. They're still sitting in front of their screens, and they're not getting out and exercising. And what I have got a concern about is that people's mental health is suffering already, and then the added strain of trying to reopen the economy and what that's going to mean for business and the bottom line and jobs and all of that. We've got to really make sure we look after people. So that's a Wednesday, and then on Thursday it's all about supporting the business. So what does the business need to survive and thrive? So lots and lots going on from the Chamber, but today is really much more about you. So what I'm going to do is just invite people in one at a time, just to give us a bit of an update. But if you wouldn't mind just also having a think about that support that you're going to need. So what support in general terms might you and your business need in the coming weeks and months? So I'm just going to do this in alphabetical order, which means on my current terms, it looks like Alistair Kerr, you're first. So if you could unmute yourself, remember, and introduce yourself, because there will be people on the call that don't know you and your business, and then tell us what's going on.
Hi everyone. I'm Alistair from Creative Mongrel, branding consultancy for small businesses. I haven't really had much change since last week, other than applying for the, I can't even think what it's called, the self-employed grant from HMRC, which was processed very, very quickly, and I'm told will be with me soon. So I was saying on last week's that I hadn't really thought about taking up on the loan. I've kind of had second thoughts on that since then, just sort of on reflection, just thinking about the fact that although I don't like debt, it might be a case of speculate to accumulate and just sort of, well, speculate with somebody else's money, and use that for potentially for marketing or something. So I'm looking at that at the minute, and just case of watch this space. I mean, I really don't like taking on debt, but it might be a good bet in the longer term. So I'm interested to hear what other people are thinking about it. That's me.
Thanks, Alistair. So apart from maybe thinking about that bounce back loan, is there anything else in particular that you think your business is going to need?
I think my biggest concern lies around how people will be reacting when they come out of it, whether it's going to be tightening purse strings, loss of confidence. I just don't know what way people are going to, what way they're going to react. I'm looking at myself and trying to think about how I'm reacting, and is that the same as how other people will react? You know, obviously businesses of all different sizes, and markets that they're chasing. So there's no one answer, I don't think. But I just think my fear is that everybody will just be frozen in the headlights when they come out of it, and there'll be a real reluctance to spend, maybe through fear of the unknown still, because there's going to be, I think people maybe think that when they come out the other end, it's going to all suddenly be clear, and the road ahead will be so much clearer than it has been. But I don't think it is going to be. I think this will be a real comet's tail of sort of fear and uncertainty for quite some time, in case it comes back, or I mean, you look at the press and you just see no real indication of what way things are going. Our flight's going to be back to normal by a year's time, 6 months time. Is our tourists going to be coming into Scotland? Are they going to be coming in from elsewhere in the world? Probably not. Are they going to be coming in from the UK? Possibly. You just don't know. So as I said, it's really a case of just hoping that confidence returns reasonably quickly. But in terms of support, I don't know, other than helping to build that confidence. I don't know. I don't know what can be done. And I think, I said the last time, I'm in no rush for everything to get back to normal if it risks a second spike, So that's me.
Brilliant, that's fab. Thank you so much. Bruce, over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Donaldson. I work with Dundee and Angus College. I'm what they call a sector development lead. The college is split into 4 main curricular areas. The one I'm responsible for is science, technology, engineering, maths, etc. That sort of side of the college. I guess initially, and we're still just coming out of that, our initial panic and phase was, what do we do with all the students and getting them resulted and through exams and qualifications, and how do we finish that all off? Because there's all sorts of, some are easier than others, but there's a lot of complexities in doing that. So we've been working hard on that, as well as looking forward to what the heck do we do going forward. And it's just as Alistair was saying, there are so many unknowns, and I've lost count of the amount of Teams meetings where decisions are made only the very next day to be completely turned on their head because another piece of information comes forward or another idea, we're trying to second guess. I know there's a big push in our area to think, and we're getting nudged by the government as well, as one of the sort of the largest sort of training provider in the region. Or what are we doing, or what are we going to do to support people with training? How do we restructure some of that to make it free at point of source? What are people going to be looking for? All sorts of questions, which, as Alistair says, how do you answer those? We just don't know. There was an initial sort of push to reach out to companies to say, can people give us an inkling of where their thoughts are along those lines? But obviously companies are far too busy just now solving their own problems without worrying about ourselves and what we're meant to be doing. And is it more going back to basics on training? Are there going to be a lot of people out of work who need to retrain, to need to refocus on what they're doing? Do we cover that? But we are getting pushed to support and do what we can to offer free training, to look at redesigning our courses. There's a big thing to move all of our stuff as much online as we can. But again, how do you, we can move online, but do customers have the facility to work with us online? Does everybody have a laptop? Does everybody have Teams? Does everybody have the understanding of how that works? So that's where a lot of our meetings are around just now. On one day, things seem to be all opening and moving forward, and we're talking with businesses and schools, and we're talking with how we're going to run it. And then the next day it all changes because another piece of information comes along that confounds that, and we have to go back to the start and figure out what we're doing. But that's roughly with the colleges at present. We've got quite a number of our staff have been furloughed just at present. And yeah, it's not quite one day at a time, but there's a slight sense of we'll get there, we'll get through, we'll be positive, but where the heck are we going and what it's going to look like? So I guess we're in the same bag as a lot of other companies and large organisations out there. That's roughly where we are just now, anyway.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's fab, Bruce. Thanks. Jerry, for some reason you disappeared off my screen, but are you still there? Can you come in, Jerry?
Yeah, I had to disappear for just a moment to change into my comfortable clothes. Just came out of a boiler suit painting a fence. Yeah, hi, my name is Jerry Higgins from Communicating Culture. And just to follow on what Bruce was just saying there, I think for me the fundamental change is that a lot of the stuff I was delivering before COVID was face-to-face, so to groups and to organisations. And obviously everything has moved online. And people talk about what changes are going to be permanent after this. And I think for me that I'm coming to the realisation that it's definitely going to be a fundamental change of going from face-to-face to digital, which is a shame because it was the face-to-face bit that was really the engaging and the fun bit. But it just means that you've got a new skill set to learn, find out how to blur your background, all that sort of stuff, and how do you make what you're delivering keep it interactive, keep it engaging, even though you're sitting like this. Alistair, your comment about being frozen in the headlights when things do open up. I think there will be need for a transition period. I plan to spend that in the Fisherman's Pub here, that transition period, getting back to normal life, and maybe that's not such a bad idea because I don't think it's going to be a sudden transition though. The way things are going, it's still going to be very, very gradual. In terms of support, things like this are very useful. I see people on here that I then connect with, and things come out of it sometimes, and sometimes they don't. I don't actually. I haven't applied for the self-employed thing yet, but it's on the to-do list now. Yeah, so I think that's me.
That's great. Thank you. Sorry, it took me a while to unmute myself. I really like that about the fishermen.
I've just been really happy to see that I did unmute myself and I didn't do that whole spiel with the mic.
All right, Jen Stewart.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are y'all? Sorry, I had my laptop down there.
All right.
Yes, so for those of you that don't know me, I am Jen Stewart from Johnson Carmichael, based currently at home, but usually in Dundee. So really what has been going on with us in the last week or so, just again, responding to clients' inquiries, providing assistance with any of the grants and loans that are available to them. Again, basically we had quite a few clients looking to go through the self-employment scheme last week. So we have been providing assistance and guidance on that. We've been looking at some of the provisions that will come in with the coronavirus Scotland Bill number 2, just in terms of any of the implications that will have, looking at that really from a restructuring perspective in terms of directors' fiduciary duties and wrongful trading provisions for them to continue to trade. Again, looking at responding to queries in relation to the furlough schemes, and looking at some rescue and support measures for companies. So I'm currently working on some company voluntary arrangements, which are actually quite rare in Scotland, but are a really useful mechanism to allow businesses to trade through these difficult and challenging times, but with an outcome which will hopefully be successful at the end, whereby the business will continue and employees' jobs will be preserved and retained. So that's really a bit of a kind of a run through where we're going. We're also looking at, as a business, doing all of the risk assessments in terms of looking at our returning to work plans and strategies, and how we see that looking. And again, it's more straightforward in some offices where we are the only people in those offices, but a couple of the office premises that we occupy are shared, and actually Dundee being one of those, that we're in Dundee 1 down at the at City Quay. So it's actually looking at the provisions that the landlord will put in place there for some of the communal areas, and just ensuring that our staff will be safe when we're essentially out, or when we're back in the workplace. So we're not looking at essentially forcing anybody to come back into the office, because I think, as it's been mentioned on the call, that working from home does work for some people, and if that is really what people would like to do going forward, we certainly won't be forcing them back into the office if the job can be done remotely. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Maggie, you want to come in? Oh, you need to unmute yourself, Maggie. Can't hear you yet. No, it's not behaving. Sarah, you can't unmute Maggie, can you? You don't have that power. No.
Sorry, I'm saying no, but I muted myself.
Oh, Maggie says it's telling her she's unmuted, but according to my screen, it's muted. Yeah. That's weird. I tell you what we'll do, Maggie. We'll jump on to Manny, and then we'll definitely come back and get you in if we can. Okay. Manny, are you around?
Afternoon, folks. Can you see me okay?
Hi.
Yeah.
Keep talking. Yep, there you are.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so I think I've met most people that are on the screen here. I don't know who this guy Bruce is, though. It's been a while. Hey, Bruce. Hotels, well, look, the plug just got switched off for us. There's just rumours for July. Then, just it's absolutely unpredictable for us in the hotel world. We probably will be one of the last trades that will probably be allowed to open back up. For us, all we can do really is just prepare just now. Systems, procedures, service delivery, social distancing. So we've got screens planned, we've got one-way systems planned in the hotel, menus have been reduced. Again, we're doing as much prep as we possibly can, but just depends on when it actually opens up. We are predicting around the 35-40% mark business. It will all be driven from regional and local trade. not banking on international business at all till probably this time next year. One thing I have learned, things are changing by the day, by the week. So, you know, you could hear one thing now and be confident about it, and then a week later something changes, and then you have to go back to the drawing board. And that's really the way it's been for the past 2 months. And we kind of used to it now. I mean, I think for guests, customers, I think 3 major things: cleanliness, nutrition, safety and security. That's the only thing that's going to matter. It's not going to be a case of we'll go to the cheapest option anymore. For us, we're competing against the bigger international brands who have already put a lot of systems in place and who have made them public. We're just a wee bit behind, and we're hoping that our reputation will really carry us through to the other end. Help-wise, everybody's furloughed. The finance team are taking care of, you know, the holiday periods and so on and so forth. On site, we have to take care of Legionella, food safety, all that life still goes on. The difference is that there's only 1 or 2 people that are having to deal with it, whereas you would normally have a team of people to deal with it. So we're busy preparing, we're busy keeping safe, and let's see what happens, really, to be honest with you. We've given a lot of our food away to charity, food banks, so on and so forth. I think that will continue as time goes on, as things come to their life end. That's it. Happy to take any questions at the end when it comes to hotel trade, pub trade, restaurants, and so on and so forth. Thanks.
Thanks, Manny. Before you go and mute yourself again, do you think that your buying might change in your industry and become even more local, or will pricing just be so important that it's going to be price that's going to be key, or can you not say?
Are you talking about consumables here, suppliers for us?
Yeah.
I mean, Alison, for those that know me, I mean, I've always, from the day we opened up, you know, I've tried to keep as much local as possible. Everything, really, to be honest with you. It's a simple fact of supply and demand. If the stuff is there locally, yeah, absolutely, we'll buy it. We are already on back order for stuff. We've put orders in now, which we're not expecting delivery until probably August. There's some things that are critical we can only get at a national scale. That's just luck. Pricing, yeah, it'll be a major driver because I think our GP bottom line will be massively affected. Again, it's very hard to predict, Alison. I think we're banking on the fact that people will not be purchasing cheap rooms. They would rather pay just that wee bit more and ensure that they're safe and looked after. That should compensate for the extra prices in material that we will get. Biggest cost is payroll, as you know. We will try our best to retain everybody we possibly can. It's just a balancing act. We just need to see how the books pan out. But local, definitely for me, is a local thing. We need to get the local businesses back up and running as best as possible.
Yeah. And you've just made me think of another question. That's your own fault.
That's all right, no problem. Nobody normally talks to me, Alison, on these calls, so it's good.
From a workforce point of view, then, clearly potentially short term, the student numbers in the city are going to be lower, as are maybe people that come into the UK to work in your industry because it suits them to do that. So how do you think that's going to impact, or do you have a lot of local? Because I know you support a lot of locals to work in your business, but.
Yeah, I don't think there will be any shortage of workforce out there. As you know, I'm involved in different initiatives. What I will say is the sector in Dundee itself has got such a large variation of hotels, of styles. It's just unfortunate we've got hotels here that really bank on conferences, banqueting. So I think what we'll find is a lot of people from one hotel will be able to move to another hotel. So for sleepers, we are very much of a streamlined operation. So we're known as a focus service hotel. So we don't have the gyms and the swimming pools and so on and so forth. But there are hotels that will probably suffer in that area. We will be sharing workforce amongst ourselves. We've already had these conversations. But I think developing the workforce, I think there's a massive opportunity there now. I mean, I work closely with people like Bruce and all that as well. Then it's just a matter of developing that skill.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to stop picking on you now.
Thanks. Thanks.
So Maggie, I don't know if you've managed to get yourself unmuted. Shall we try again before I go to Nazat? No. I see Sarah has maybe suggested it might be quite rude, but maybe kick you if you come out of the call and come back in again, and then hopefully when you come back in it will be loud and clear. So Nazat, over to you.
Okay. Hi everyone, can you all hear me? Yay, okay. Made sure I pressed that unmute button. So my name is Nazat. I work at Abertay University. I don't know if I'm probably similar to Bruce with the college. So Abertay just now, our kind of priority is making sure students are getting the education that they need. So most of the stuff's now done online. In fact, I think there's exams happening next week. We just actually finished, we did our degree show online on Friday, and that went really well. I think we were trending, and in fact, we probably had more participants in one night going to a degree show online than we do generally, like on the first night. So, so from that point of view, it's been quite a success doing things online. But staff-wise, most of us are working. The furloughed staff are the ones who, work in the cafes, and their gym staff. They're all furloughed, but we're trying our best to make sure staff can work in other departments, like kind of find a job similar somewhere else. So, as a university, we're trying our best to tick along, and with my role, because I work in like the alumni kind of fundraising team, we are kind of doing trying our best to fundraise, because we have a lot of students who are struggling right now, because most of them are now not working because they haven't got a job now anymore. The placements that we're supposed to have, they've now all been cancelled. Some of them are carers, so they're now trying to figure out how they're going to support their families. So we're trying to fundraise for them, and so they can get food packages, pay their rent if they have to. And we have also got a big demand of a lot of students don't even have computers to do their coursework or do their exams. With Abertay, our university is 24/7, so technically you can just come in and do your coursework on any of the computers, but now they can't do that. So we're trying to find funds for students who are struggling. We've got students stuck in other countries, so we're just making sure they're safe and well, and they're somewhere, they're protected. So we're kind of, like, again, working on just making sure our students are safe just now. So yeah, I think most universities are probably in the same position as us, like universities and colleges. But just making sure students are still getting their education, graduating online, and any students abroad, or even the ones who are stuck here but their families are abroad, that they're okay, they're safe in Dundee, self-isolating. So mental well-being is kind of a big thing just now as well, because we want to make sure students are not homesick or left alone, considering, but they're okay. So that's what's happening just now at Abertay.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That's great. Nicola, do you want to come in now?
That's me. I think I've successfully unmuted there. Can you hear me and see me?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm the new girl. Hi. And I'm at the moment living in Oxfordshire, but I'm coming up to Scotland on Friday, and I'm going to be living in Angus. So I've just got back from Riyadh. I was doing a job over there as a chief of staff for a law firm. And prior to that, I've done about 20 years of being a high-end personal assistant. So the last 13 years were in London supporting CEOs and chairmen and few celebrities and stuff. So the 3 years prior to going to Saudi, I was working on the executive floor for the BP downstream CEO. So this has all led me to come back to Scotland, and I've decided that I'm setting up a virtual assistant business. So that's going to be based where I'm going to be in Letham. So I have got my Riyadh client that I was working for as the chief of staff out there in Saudi. So I've still retained them, and it works. So I've been working for them for 3 weeks virtually, and it's all going really well. And this is the future. And I really feel that this is a good thing for everybody. And, you know, once we get into the new normal, because we're never going to go back to what we've just had. So once we navigate what that's going to look like, then there's going to be a lot more, obviously, virtual working. So my services that I'm offering are retainer packages of a certain amount of hours that somebody can get from me, and then they get this very, very high quality service. So somebody can get, say, the 40-hour retainer package, which 40 hours a month it's about just under £1,000 a month. So you're getting the best PA service for £12,000 a year. So I'm just working out how all that's going to go, and I need clients. But it's exciting, and I'm really excited to be part of this community and coming back home to Scotland after being away for 15, 20 years is great, and I'm ready to come back. And I would also say another thing that I might be able to help the community with is when we're doing the mental health stuff. So I was a functioning alcoholic for 20 years, and I was doing all these high-end jobs while I was still doing all that drinking. And a lot of people are in that situation, but it's hidden, like I did. It's all very hidden. So I've not drank. It was my birthday, my sober birthday yesterday for 7 years. And I just decided one day that was it, after a bit of a story behind that. But anyway, less than 1% of addicts can stop that way, but I did it, so it is possible. So if anybody wants me to talk about that in a mental health thing, and I'll join the seminars, I can't remember which day they're on, but I'm absolutely more than willing to talk to people about my story and about the journey and help other people that are in the same situation, because I think transparency and being open and honest, and then people can see, okay, it's, you know, people like that have that same issue, and I can take heart from that and know that I can turn everything around. So that's me. Well, hello everybody.
Thank you, Nicola. That's fab. So I guess once we get back to whatever the new normal looks like, I'll just have to buy you a really big coffee and get all your secrets about all these celebs and all these others. But that's really interesting. Yeah, looking forward to meeting you in person whenever we get out of what all this looks like in the future. But yeah, I mean, it's such a good example of, you know, the transference of a service that you were able to do face-to-face into using digital and to still carry your Riyadh clients with you, which is fab. Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Niall, do you want to come in?
Does that work?
Oh, I can't see you yet, but I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can see myself in the corner. Can you not see me?
Your camera's on for me.
Oh, all right. Ignore me then. Carry on.
Sorry, I missed it. I think it might be for the first time my broadband's not great. But if you can hear me, I'll keep going if that's all right. Yeah. Okay. So hi, I'm very, very sorry I was late. I had another call that overran and I couldn't jump off it, so I'm really sorry about that. So I'm Niall. I help businesses remove risk from a currency perspective when they deal with overseas clients or have maybe offices or subsidiaries overseas. So I go out, well, I used to go out, get to know the business, and try and analyze what they do and try and come up with ideas and solutions around removing that risk profile that they might have when they're dealing with different currencies around the world. So I suppose from our trading perspective, we've had a bit of a dip actually. So at the beginning of all this, logically, the last thing people wanted to talk about was foreign exchange or international payments. They were just looking about keeping the doors open and having to learn about furloughing and all that kind of stuff. So we did notice a kind of a significant drop off in new business, and therefore we took the decision to furlough some of our junior staff as well. So we've got some of those guys on furlough. But I've definitely noticed a significant change in the last couple of weeks, particularly the last couple of weeks actually, where my old clients or portfolio are coming to me now saying, actually, now it's time out. So you called me, what it was, a month ago, I was too busy, now I'm not. One FD described it very well, that, I've got a list of, 10 priorities. You're in that list of priorities, but you're just one of 10, the other people's in the, one of 100. Whatever number that is. So I think people are starting to get through this from what I can tell and what I can see. I'm feeling quite positive with things actually. Now, I know the new norm isn't here yet. I quite like it. I'm quite good at working from home. I get quite a bit done. Of late, I do feel like life has just been one big Zoom call, but I'm okay with it, right? I cover Scotland and Northern Ireland for my patch. So, I found myself on trains and planes and down to London, and and it's not needed, right? It's the environmental impact was huge, and this has allowed a lot of people to just stop, I think, and what do we travel back again? Just don't get them. I'm quite positive with the near future. I think people are starting to do business again. I think they're starting to import and export, which is important for me, and that's kind of it. I think things are going good.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I had a known delay myself in trying to unmute myself. Fab, thank you so much. Maggie, let's have another go. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Hooray. So the trick of leaving and coming back obviously worked. Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie from the Liverpool Foundation. And for those of you who don't know me, we're a city centre charity, social enterprise, company limited by guarantee in Reform Street. And the whole thing we do is offering health and wellbeing services to everybody. So at the centre, we have classes, courses, workshops, complementary therapies. And then we do have outreach work in the most disadvantaged communities. So like other people have said, we have been face-to-face in groups, one-to-one. That's everything that we do. So what we've been doing since the restrictions began is overhauling and updating our website so that we can, it was a bit outdated, so we're now kind of bringing it up so that we can attract more people coming to our website and accessing these services. We've also applied for and got turned down for the Third Sector Resilience Fund, which is because we actually had too many reserves. We were sort of kind of being responsible and had money put aside for the repair of our roof because we own the building in Reform Street, and we know that that's going to be a bill that we've got to pay. So we kind of got, that was the reason we didn't get the money. But we got funding from another source that has actually tided all our expenses over until the end of July. So we're fine until the end of July. We do operate in quite a sustainable way in the business and having several income streams. So that obviously a lot of these income streams have stopped, like venue hire. We're kind of prime location for people to have meetings and use our big hall, which is a beautiful space. And so what we're about to put in a funding application to go online with everything, but sort of getting recording equipment and studio set up so that we can offer all of our things online. So I'm actually interested in coming to tonight's meeting to see if we can get any tips for that. We have in the meantime been offering some of our classes via Zoom, and that's been working very well. So, and we're about to offer a course in June, Mindfulness for Beginners, that anybody can access. And we're going to have also lunchtime. We always did have little lunchtime drop-in sessions for people, just helping deal with the general stress of daily life. And people might be feeling less stressed now in some ways because there's a bit more space, life has slowed down a bit. But I know and have heard reports from a lot of community organisations and partners that they've been supporting most vulnerable people, but they themselves now are actually, you know, anxiety and stress is impacting them in a big way. So the mental health thing, as I'm sure many people have already said, is for us a huge, it's going to be a huge thing, and we need to be ready to offer as much help as we can. As far as, we also did run a small cafe, healthy eating cafe, which has a kind of a very peaceful, relaxing atmosphere, along with trying to get inner peace inside our heads. We have a peaceful space for people to chill out. And I suppose the help that you were asking, Alison, is thinking about how, whenever that happens, how we can reopen at the Liverpool Centre, particularly the cafe, because we happen to be 2 floors up. And I don't know where there are yet guidelines and what has to be put in place before you can open. So that's something that I'm kind of really keen to find out so that we can prepare for that. I think that's about it from me. But
thanks. That's great, Maggie. I mean, we had, so yesterday there was a Scottish Chambers Network meeting with Jamie Hepburn, who is one of the government ministers that's looking at all of the recovery plans. And that was, the guidance was definitely something that we were talking a lot about, because the initial work that government's been doing has been around, well, construction, so there's guidance out for that already, but retail and manufacturing are kind of the next key sectors that the government is keen to get guidance out. And then obviously there's going to be an announcement on Thursday from Scottish Government about the roadmap and what else we can expect. So we were pushing for what guidance might there be for other sectors, because it's likely to come out sector by sector. And I guess, you know, how prescriptive it will be, how detailed it will be, versus, you know, you're going to get guidance and then we all have to interpret that and then hope that it kind of complies with what our insurance company want it to comply with. That's, you know, there's going to be all sorts of things for us to think about. But Mania, is there anything that you can kind of come in and kind of pinpoint Maggie to from the cafe and the venue point of view?
Well, there will be a centralised plan that will be issued. There is one on its way for the hotels as well. But I mean, I have got my hands on plans already in place by big companies, and what I'm doing is actually just dissecting it and what applies to me and what doesn't. And I'm happy to share these plans. They're not a secret. A lot of them does have a food and beverage element to it.
yeah.
I think the bottom line for the cafe will be the time factor. So you would probably have to limit people sitting down for a certain amount of time. Manoeuvring tables around to ensure distancing and stuff like that. Absolutely happy, Maggie, to discuss offline if you want, or share any plan that I've put in place.
Excellent. I really appreciate that. And obviously, you know, reaching out to chamber members that if you need any of the services that we can provide, please kind of go to our website, or you know of people that are suffering and need help. just put us out there.
Great. I mean, there's a couple of things that you could do through the chamber anyway. So I mean, when we first came into lockdown, I think we thought, oh, the news is going to dry up. You know, people are going to be so worried about what's going on, or they're not going to be doing very much. But actually, I would say our news channels are busier than ever. So please send us news stories about anything and everything that you've got, because the email address to send that into is news@dundeeandanguschamber.co.uk. So, if it's about a new website or a new product or something that you've got going on, or anything, then please send that in to us. But the other thing is, in our COVID hub, we've actually got, now I can't remember if it's called member services. It's called member support. So we've got a page in the COVID hub. So if you've got a specific thing that's really going to help people through the current crisis, then have a look at what's on that page, and please again use the news and say that this is COVID member support, and we'll get that put up there and shared out. So I mean, I think this is the time for everybody to kind of just try and make sure that they are getting in front of as many of our members and local businesses as possible. I'm interested, just to kind of round things off, and I mean, if you've got a question, then please put your hand up or jump in. But something that came up, so those of you, hopefully most of you will know about our Circular Tayside programme that we run, which is about helping businesses think about being more circular, whether it's thinking about your own waste or whether it's thinking about someone else's waste and how that could be a commodity for you to make money out of, or kind of do something with. And we were talking today about whether, as we all kind of come out of recovery, and we can't all be in the same space. For example, you might have an office and there's 100 desks on a floor, and that's not socially distant. So, how will businesses adapt to that? And we wondered, and do you think that businesses will cut down on the amount of furniture they've got? Does that mean that they're going to sort of take away desks and furniture and pass them on? In which case, is there a business to be made from people actually wanting that furniture, repurposing it, upgrading it, whatever? Will that produce a secondary market for actually those desks to go into home offices, so that we stop working at the dining room table, which is what I'm doing, and create, a much more proper working from home space if you don't already have one? Or do you think people will just keep what they've got, but just, stagger shifts? Anybody got any thoughts whatsoever on that?
Hi, Alison. We've got a lot of desks, but you have to assume that a matter of time, everything will start going back to some sort of volume. So you probably have to end up using that. Now, in a restaurant, for example, we've got 65 tables. We have thought about removing them, but then we thought it's easily just to isolate them and keep them in situ as well. So there will be a market there, but I think a lot of people will probably be planning ahead, and 6 months down the line, will they have to buy desks again to fill these spaces back up? So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty valid. Bruce, is there anything from a college point of view that you're kind of thinking about from that? Because obviously, I mean, the universities, for example, are talking about a lot of online delivery, but some of that is in response to people not being able to actually get into Dundee, isn't it? Whereas, a lot of your students are local. But do you know if there's thoughts about furniture,
It's been looked at. Funnily enough, the first meetings are actually today, with various individuals going back and just have a look at classrooms. I think the initial ones are actually looking at our specific work areas. So, for instance, the actual science labs, the engineering workhouses and workshops there, and construction workshops. So they're specifically looking at those ones first of all, to see how they'll do that, because that's, if there's desks in a classroom, that's slightly easier to move around rather than welding and drilling equipment and car maintenance stuff. So they're looking at that in the first phase, but we're trying to figure out how do we have a one-way system in the college for 15,000 students. How do you get them all for the cafeterias themselves? We've got those large refectories. Our table will be the same, I imagine, and Dundee Uni. So yeah, the conversations that are ongoing, but we haven't got to the point where what do we do? I mean, I know there's I don't know if you know our Gardyne campus, but there's a move which was very, shall we say, questionable at the time. They removed an awful lot of desks and went for hot desking, which wasn't very popular with a lot of staff at the time. So I think a lot of these people are very glad, thinking that they'll now get desks back and they'll all be, but they'll have to have them spaced out. So to answer your question, I don't know. It's something that's ongoing within the college, because we're having to look at that all of our 3 campuses, the estates. So, but it is happening right now. As I say, today, I know a couple of the guys are in having a look at that, trying to see how we can do this, how do we make it work. But maybe, as well as Manny's saying, there may well be a move of not rushing to throw away all our desks and equipment to clear space for social distancing, which 6, 7, 9 months down the line might change again. So it's a hard one to answer, but it's something where it's ongoing and we're there. So if it was to come to fruition where we knew we had excess items like that, then yeah, we would make you aware. I've had this conversation already.
Yeah, no, that's fab. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? As you're, talking about shared spaces, because, even some of the shared equipment, I guess your students, I see you near me thinking, but there's not drills and kind of, bricklaying equipment to go around every single student either, is there? So it's, I guess it's changing. It's just thinking through all of that. It's such an enormous job, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you get one solution to a problem, whereas we extend the hours, make it work one way, then you can't, because staffing and unions, you can't have people working through the night with things. But we are looking at all sorts of, do we stagger the students and the times they come in, changing timetables, delivering part of it online, then they come and a whole class are split in 2 in the morning. Some guys are at home, then they come in the afternoon, and so they're in the classroom and vice versa. But given the range of students we have and the issues they may have, sometimes just getting to come into college is hard enough, rather than trying to mix it all around and any complications. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a sense that there's a lot of, and a lot of people have sort of highlighted that today, that there are issues, there's problems, but I think we are trying to look on the positive side, that it is opening up an awful lot of opportunities, where we've talked for a long time about moving training online and repurposing some of the campuses and making them work. And there's always, it's difficult to do that when you're actually, it's all live and running and the college is operating and you've got thousands of students in. Well, now we don't have that. There is a stop to it to make a change. So we are looking at fundamentally, as you know, we had an IT issue earlier this year that made us jump to using an awful lot of online materials and all using Teams, which has proved beneficial right now in the current situation. But going forward, we are revising a whole range of how we work and how we maybe link with businesses as well on the sort of placements. Can businesses work with us to, do we have to have students all in working in our workshops? Can they maybe be far more working in their places and apprenticeships, that idea? So it's just a mixture of how we work. But as I say, you solve one problem, you create another. But there's sort of still quite a lot of positivity about making big changes that we will remain and keep in place and move forward and take that leap forward with a lot of our delivery and how we work and work with the community in the region all around.
Yeah, and it's hugely important, isn't it, to keep that connection to the students, because even just hearing about, like Abertay's placements, pausing, or, I mean, I've got a session next week with one of your colleagues where I'm going to talk to the new foundation apprentices that are coming in. But, this is year 2 for us, I think, in having a foundation apprentice. But, for these young people, you can't even begin to imagine. Well, I suppose they're a little bit, they'll be thinking, well, this is just what it is and this is how we adapt. Young people are just pretty good at rolling with the punches, but you just can't imagine what the impact's going to be on young people and whether there's going to be jobs and what careers they're going to have. So now is definitely the time to keep as connected to students as we can.
Yeah. And working that whole thing around. I mean, we've had notifications that we've been on and on in the government. We've had notification through certainly the modern apprenticeships and the apprenticeship scheme. As you know, a lot of the funding was tied to ages and you had to fit. So a company might want to take someone on, but if they weren't 16 to 19, then the money wasn't there and they had to pay extra, etc. They've now loosened that whole thing up, which opens up, because obviously, as we were saying, there might be an awful lot of people who will look at different jobs, retrain companies might, sort of retask individuals, which means hopefully there'll be funding there that would allow people to move in and retrain in a new job. And the fact that they are 36, 42, 25 shouldn't have a massive impact. There are some implications for us, as always. It's not all money for nothing, but it does open up that whole link for us to help companies as well in that area to look at other people taking apprentices or moving their staff around in different areas and retraining. There will be funding there if they did it through the apprenticeship scheme that should be able to cover that. We haven't got 100% of it nailed down yet, but it's looking that should be possible, which does help us and everybody else.
Yeah, no, that would be a really big step forward, wouldn't it? Because I think part of the issue's always been that young people get a lot of support, and rightly so, but also career progression and moving people on inside the business to let the new young people come in is really important too. So, right, okay, well, I think that's a pretty good note to end on, unless anybody's got anything burning. Nobody's worked the I put my hand up thing, so nobody's got their hand up. It's been brilliant to see more of you on the screen than normal. I've really enjoyed that today. So thank you so much for taking the time to come in. For those of you that are maybe a bit new to today, the chat won't disappear. So, if you haven't got somebody's email address and you think, oh, I'm sure I saw that was there, or you say, I forgot to put my email address in, that chat will still be there. So you can always dip back into it and find the name of the person that you meant to catch up with who was talking about foreign currency or whatever. So, enjoy the rest of your day. If you're going to be on tonight's session about doing better business online, then I'll see you then. But in the meantime, have a nice afternoon. Thanks, folks. See you later.